Impact World Heavyweight Champion Josh Alexander with me. We're going to be talking about the Derby City Rumble, as it's being called, the Impact tapings in Louisville coming up next week. Do you know, like, this actually caught me off guard, and I feel like I should have known it, but do you know why it's called Derby City?
I do not know. I should have done my research, I guess. I'm assuming there's something to do with derbies in Louisville. But.
Yeah, it was actually because the Kentucky Derby's hosted there, but it was like, I heard the name over and over. I'm like, I should know this, and I don't. And I'm like, oh yeah, horse racing. It's like, kind of obvious, but it's, a catchy name, even though maybe I don't know the history behind it. It's a cool name for the tapings coming up. Trying to think, this is like your fourth or fifth taping as champion coming up. Like,
yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's been 2 a month since I won, so probably fifth.
Yeah, so you're getting to make the towns. Got out of Nashville after all that last year. I know you have one coming up in Chicago. They've been in you were just in Atlanta last weekend. What's that experience been for you? Because, kind of when this title run, if I could put it that way, like when it started, there was a lot of uncertainty, like maybe didn't know about touring, how fans were going to be there. Now you actually have like a plan. There's, different city every couple of weeks. How's that going for you? Just getting to be in front of a different crowd and represent Impact as their champion, the face of the company.
I mean, I love that part of it. I love to be in front of new crowds and new towns. And I love the fact that, like, Impact is trying to grow. Like, that's what we're doing right now by going out to all these different markets and stuff like that on a consistent basis, is trying to grow the fan base, trying to get in front, because I think, in front of different fans, because I think, like, the product is specifically for Impact. Like, if you digest it or if you experience it in the live setting, it's that much better. So I think, like, that's the reason why we're especially trying to make a thing to get out, especially post-pandemic. As you said, we were in Nashville for so long. Like, the travel, honestly, it's already kind of wearing on me. I don't think anything can quite prepare you for being out of your house and living in airports and hotels like 5 days a week. But, I'm settling into it. I'm definitely enjoying everything because, like, if you know my story, like, this is not anything I ever thought was possible or could happen. So, I enjoy every day as it comes.
Yeah. 15 years it took to become a full-time pro wrestler. That was a real big accomplishment for you. One of the things that I did want to ask about, you had visa issues last year, which threw a huge wrench into your plans, Impact. I know you had to pull off of a couple other events too. Can you walk me through that? Like, because, on the surface it was okay. I have these issues. I have to go home and I fix them. And you posted a picture of, like, back on a job site, but then on TV it was, well, we're sending you home. And it was sort of put into storylines. Like, how did that play out in real time where, they had to scramble and take you off TV, but, like, how quickly did that resolve itself for you in real life?
It was probably within a week. We filmed all that stuff. I think it was in Florida in late January, about me, like, going home and possibly being the hottest unsigned talent in the world again, and all that stuff with Scott D'Amore. And it was strictly because, we hadn't really agreed to anything concrete, and they wanted to keep the option open of maybe I might not be coming back to Impact Wrestling, even though I had expressed that, like, this is where I wanted to be and everything else, and they wanted me to stay and all this other stuff. It's just, we hadn't come to a complete agreement by the time of those television tapings, and by the time we did come to an agreement, unfortunately, my visa had lapsed to the point where they couldn't get an immediate renewal, so they had to reapply, and that took an extra, I guess, 3 weeks, because by then, I showed up back in, I guess it was Louisville, when I laid out Moose at Sacrifice, right?
Yeah. And the other thing, and people I feel like are really good at this now. When somebody posts a picture, they're like, "Oh, I know where that picture's from. Like they posted it back here," or I could, like analyzing stuff in the background. Was that picture that you posted like new, or was that something that you had taken before just to kind of keep people?
Oh, no, I was on the job site. I've done construction for the better part of the last 15 years as a professional wrestler. And for the last few years, my trade, actually, my uncle owns a company in the trade. So every once in a while, he'll hit me up to help him with jobs and stuff like that. And he just hit me up when I happened to be home for that month. And I said, sure, I'm not doing anything else. Might as well make some money. So I figured it would only help my situation.
Okay. All right.
You know what I mean? To take a picture, but it was genuine.
Okay, no, that's good, because now people don't have to look at it and be like, oh, where did he take that from? Oh, I'm gonna go, like combing through your Instagram history and stuff like that.
Yeah, like my whole thing with social media, not to like get off topic or anything, is to just be completely genuine pretty much all the time. So I don't usually try to fabricate anything. I just try to be as real as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. I appreciate you clearing that up. One thing I did want to talk about, we don't know any of the, at least as of now, don't know any of the matches, what you're going to be doing in Louisville. So I can't really like ask your thoughts on your opponent, but you do have one real quick. I wanted to touch on Ric Flair's last match, the event. You're going to defend the championship against Jacob Fatu from Major League Wrestling. He's been one of their heavy hitters for the past couple years, had a great run as their champion. What's it mean to you to, sort of have one more, I'm not going to call it Forbidden Door, but, just this major cross-promotional event? What's it mean to you getting to not only go in as champion, competing on such a big stage, but also you're kind of crossing over into MLW territory for the first time?
Well, like Jacob Fatu's been on my radar for past 5 years. I wrestle at a place in Chicago called AAW, and they used to book him pretty regularly. I believe he was their champion for a period of time, and I remember maybe like 3 years ago, I was just like shooting the breeze with Scott D'Amore, and I told him, I was like, if I was starting a company, Jacob Fatu would be one of the first 2 draft picks for me. I just think like he checks all the boxes for a professional wrestler, be it athleticism, physicality, charisma, presence, all this other stuff. I think I'm a huge fan of Jacob Fatu. I think that, as much as, I'm eager to get out there at the Ric Flair show and show the world what I can do, I think he's, going to be the exact same. And I'm chopping at the bit to get in the ring with him because it's the first time ever matchup with the two of us. We've had it booked a few times and it's always fallen through due to travel issues or whatever else. But, to be able to go in and represent Impact Wrestling, to do it against an MLW talent, just us dipping our toes into different, swimming pools and stuff like that. And, showing what we can do and representing our company, it just makes as much as professional wrestling is professional wrestling, it adds a competitive edge to it. And I'm somebody that's very competitive. So I think it's only going to help benefit everybody. And, for it to be on Ric Flair's last show, which I don't know how many people are coming to that. I don't know how many tickets are sold. I'm assuming it's a lot because of, the whole Conrad machine behind it as well. So it's always a big deal, but I'm very excited to be a part of it. I'm very excited to represent Impact Wrestling.
Yeah. And that, as I mentioned, this is like kind of Impact's first sort of crossover with MLW. I'm maybe hopeful. They work, there was some AEW, New Japan stuff going on, all these different companies. I'm hopeful maybe we'll see some more of that, because both rosters are, got a lot of really talented names. It's cool shows. You both air on Thursdays in some markets. So, hey, that's me though.
I'm with you. I think wrestling fans love it too, because there's all these like dream match scenarios out there. I remember when I was a fan as a teenager growing up, and you were just dreaming about the possibilities of what could happen between WCW, ECW, and WWF guys. And the invasion happened, and I think most people were let down by the initial part of that. But like there's all these dream match scenarios that can happen, and now with all these different companies running It's just, there's countless amounts of dream matches. So if we can make some of them happen, I think it just benefits the fans.
Yeah. So not too long ago, I was on the press pass call. It was you and Eric Young. We were going into Slammiversary. I asked about Bret Hart's work, and you were very complimentary of what he did. But with Ric Flair, that's WCW, Jim Crockett Promotions. Were you a fan of that stuff back then? Like, do you have any maybe matches from that era or talent specifically that, you maybe now as a professional wrestler go back and watch?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Any of the stuff from like him and, Ricky Steamboat, like that's like the most, probably the ones I've watched the most, especially the Chicago one. I can't remember the name of the show now; it's skipping my mind. But yeah, I've watched a ton of Ric Flair over the years. Unfortunately, when I started getting into wrestling, it was in like 1997, 98. So what I saw was like Ric Flair versus, it was like this weird Four Horsemen era where he didn't really get time to do what Ric Flair was good at doing. So I had to go back and do my research and stuff to get a real appreciation for Ric Flair and stuff. And like his career speaks for itself. I think if he's not on the Mount Rushmore, he's right there. You can go back and forth with who's on that, but he's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time.
Mm-hmm. I was looking back at some other past interviews. You praised Christian Cage when you were working with him. You said he exemplifies pro wrestling. So we have Bret Hart, we have Christian Cage. I'll put you on the spot. Who's your favorite U.S. pro wrestler, since we have two Canadians on the list already?
Oh, well, I got into wrestling because of Stone Cold Steve Austin. I've seen Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Bret Hart, like pretty much all their matches, 150 times each. Like I think Stone Cold Steve Austin was the guy that, really started this obsession for me. So I'm going to say him.
Mm-hmm. All right. Fair enough. This one actually maybe leads into my next question. But Stone Cold likes beer. One of these guys likes beer too. But I'm talking about James Storm. So I'll get that right out of the way. But we did an interview during the North's run, and you said that you wanted to put the North in the same light as AMW. But now that AMW is kind of back, they were at Slammiversary. They had another match at Against All Odds. But obviously it's not the North. You're doing your own thing, but now that you're kind of in the company at the same time, are you maybe getting the itch to work with AMW in any way, since they're around, at least for the time being?
I mean, in a perfect scenario, that could happen, but I don't know. It never really crossed my mind when I saw them. I was very happy to see them, Chris Harris come back and then redo the AMW thing, especially for like the nostalgia effect and all that, especially personally for me as a fan. I would have loved to have done the North against AMW. I think there's a short list of tag teams in Impact Wrestling history that you talk about as the greatest tag teams. I think we're both on it, luckily. I don't know which one's, better than who, but, I would certainly welcome singles matches with James Storm or Chris Harris just for, my own personal fandom. But the tag team, I don't think that's ever going to happen.
No, I didn't. I meant just, any scenario. I didn't mean to put you on the spot and say, hey, is the North? No, not North. The North is, I'm not pitching that right there. So anybody listening or reading, no. But actually, sticking on tag teams, I talked to Jordynne Grace not too long ago. I asked, because she said her goal was to win all of the titles. And I said, what about a match with you? She was complimentary of you, said you're incredible, but she actually pitched, she'd entertain a tag team title run with you. So thoughts on that? Because it's not your original partner, but it's a pretty compelling, I think, a really cool tag team.
Yeah, Jordynne like, honestly, she's been one of my best friends in Impact Wrestling, probably like the best friend I have in this entire locker room since the day I started. And, you know, she's still like the person I go to the gym with every loop and all this other stuff. We went to the gym this morning before this media thing. Like, we have a great relationship. We have great chemistry together. I'm sure it would translate great to being in the ring. I'm a huge fan of her work. I would love and welcome a tag team run with her if it could ever transpire. I think we could do something special. So for her to say that, you know, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it can happen now, because you got my hopes up.
I hope so too. I mean, once she said that she was like all in on the W Morrissey team, she had gear designed. I'm thinking like, you know, you guys can pitch this now. Like, she can get matching headgear. Like,
well, no, she's gonna be the Scott to my Rick.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. So you've had a phenomenal year so far, and I think we maybe covered some possibilities for the rest of the year. Who knows? But beating Moose, Impact World Title run. You faced off with names like Minoru Suzuki, Charlie Haas was in there, Ishii. How do you keep this run going? Like, what is your goal going forward? I know that's sort of a big picture question, but what's like the thing you're immediately focused on to try to keep the momentum going in your favor?
Well, that's the most stressful part of being in this position. I think, like, once I won the championship, and pretty much after the Ishii match, it was like, okay, what's next? You know, and it's just like a question you're going to ask yourself all the time. And I think the immediate answer for like the immediate future is to just keep, you know, having these matches that is going to build my own brand and also help Impact Wrestling at the same time. Because I think that's the mutual relationship of me being the champion and the face of the company and everything is what I can do in the ring is the way I'm going to help the company and help myself. But, you know, the big picture scenario for it, I think, is like the next goal. But once I've won every championship, which I already have, and all this other stuff, it's that what's next thing. And it's just, you know, I think it's much in the same as that North tag team run. It's going down in the history books beside the great ones. Like, I would like to be mentioned in the same vein as like an AJ Styles or somebody like that. Like, it seems like an impossible goal to set, but, you know, every goal that I've achieved in the past few years seemed impossible a few years ago. So that's the next thing for me.
You won't know until you try it. And I don't know how else to put it. As you said, you've done quite a bit in a short amount of time. You've won every title in the company, a bunch of awesome matches I just mentioned. I want to thank you once again for your time today. July 15th and 16th, Derby City Rumble. I now know why it's called the Derby City Rumble.
Me too.
Best of luck to you next weekend. I'm assuming I'm one of the first calls on your tour today, so good luck with that. Have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.